Now let's talk about the untapped potential of some released stars. Let's talk about a Keith Lee. Let's talk about a Karrion Kross, or an Ember Moon, or a Frankie Monet, or John Morrison, or a Hit Row. These are all superstars that were recently released by WWE, that had been on WWE programming for a few weeks, for a few months in some cases, that creative had nothing for them at the time, but they were still on WWE television, still figuring things out. We were still able to notice them on our television. We were still able to tell, or this guy, Karrion Kross, even though he's not the same guy he was in NXT, he's not that same monster, he's not being presented to us in that way, he is still on Monday Night Raw. And eventually, once he gets enough TV time, once he gets enough character time, character development, and an actual story, fans all around the world and on TV will start caring about a guy like Karrion Kross, or about a guy like Keith Bearcat Lee. Guys who, if you watch NXT, and not a lot of WWE's core audience watched NXT on the USA Network, you know that these guys can go. You know that these guys can entertain in the middle of the ring. But again, I go back to the point that is, WWE creative is lacking. It's very lacking. Because WWE is about telling stories. It's about entertainment. It's about creating characters and character plot lines. It's not like AEW, where AEW is a little bit more simple. It's a little bit more standardized in professional wrestling, where it's just, oh, I'm a wrestler, you're a wrestler, let's compete to see who's the best wrestler. Let's compete for the championship. That's AEW. That's what they're trying to do. And that is something that WWE has moved away from since 1984. I get that. So each and every single time superstars like Frankie Monet and John Morrison and Karrion Kross and Keith Lee and Ember Moon appear on WWE television in any capacity, you know they've got untapped potential. You know they could be higher on the card. You know they could go in that ring and put on 20-minute classics with anybody, 20, 25, 30-minute classics with anybody in that ring. It's just creative has nothing for them at that time. In the most recent cases, very unfortunate, it's Hit Row. Hit Row was released weeks after being drafted to SmackDown. They were on NXT. They were a big act on NXT. One of the most entertaining acts on NXT. They got over big time with the NXT audience. Then they got drafted to SmackDown. They made one appearance as a group, and then B-Fab got released out of nowhere. Completely blindsided. For fans, for B-Fab, for Hit Row alike. Completely blindsided. Nobody could understand why they would take B-Fab out of Hit Row, when Hit Row had been working up until that point with B-Fab as part of the group. I'm guessing WWE creatives thought they don't need B-Fab. Well, that's their opinion. In my opinion, they did. Because they appeared a few more times after the fact, after that release. And Hit Row just wasn't the same. You could tell even in Ashanti the Adonis. You could tell in Isaiah Swerve Scott. You could tell in Top Dollar. They just seemed lost. Well, not completely lost, but they just seemed like there was somebody missing, something missing from their group. Something that was intangible. And the fact that WWE wasn't smart enough to realize that, their creative team at that time or during this time is not smart enough to realize that, speaks volumes as to how low creative is currently in WWE. And I'm going to hit that hit that point a lot during this show because WWE creative is just missing on a lot of instances. And I get it, it's a hard thing to do when you're writing for WWE and everything up until this point has been already done in the company. It has already been done in professional wrestling. That's very hard, but still, you can come up with something better. I mean, look no further than The Shield. The Shield made their debut, and then a month ago, what if WWE decides that we're not thinking about a 3-man team, we're not thinking about a stable or a group, we're thinking about making this Shield group into a tag team. So one of these guys has to go, and it was either going to be Dean Ambrose or Seth Rollins because they looked at Roman Reigns as a top guy. So what if one of those two guys got released? It was not going to be the same. WWE itself was not going to be the same. I'm not saying Hit Row was going to reach that level or was already at that level, but again, Hit Row seemed like a small glimmer of light, a small glimmer of hope for WWE creative to use something that was natural talent, natural charisma, natural entertainment on their programming, and they just screwed it up. That's creative in WWE right now.